there's an official petition turned into the White House to ban Hollywood from making movies ever again because they're making the movie Cats.
Oh my god!
And I'm like, I can support that.
No shit. In this one case, state violence should be used. Let's shut down Hollywood.
Political prisoners.
Yeah. Hello. Welcome to everyone's favorite show. Then this is the show for people who have more interest in time. I got a lot of time, motherfuckers, so good luck. I was sitting in here before I just edited and released the last podcast. I finished editing it. It sounded like shit. I had some sound problems. But there were guys out back yelling, and I was like, damn, they're feisty.
I like that when I listen to Thaddeus Russell when he does his podcast. Sometimes he does them in like the back room of bars, and you can hear like buses go by, and then somebody out in the bar, the glass ching. I kind of like that. I think it was like.
So you hear the cat jumping down.
That's a big cat.
Yeah, he is. He's only like 14 pounds now. When we got him, he weighed 21 pounds. I got him from my brother, and when he got him, he weighed like 26 pounds.
Holy crap.
His gut was literally dragging on the floor. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody just like force-fed him or something.
Well, cats don't have self-control.
Yeah. You like Thaddeus Russell?
Yeah, I'm a big Thaddeus Russell fan because you can't really pin him down on. I mean, he'll talk about his politics.
Yeah.
But currently, he's like, you can't pin him down to a political movement.
Yeah, I like that too. Did you hear him last week on Malice?
No, I didn't, but I seen it was advertised. It's hard for me to listen to podcasts because my kids are all around. I put my headphones on. I don't want to ignore them. Yeah. So I usually put my headphones on and go for a motorcycle ride. Yeah. And I haven't had a chance. No,
that's cool. It was pretty good. A lot of people were all pissed because they think he always weasels out of answering stuff because he's a postmodernist. And
I don't think his definition of postmodernism is the same as the everybody else progressives describe it as.
Yeah. Well, that's what it seems like everybody's always talking about different shit when they're talking about it.
Yeah, you have to listen to him describe his view of postmodernism, and it mostly is just the ability to question everything.
Yeah.
It's like nobody and this is why the conspiracy theories, like they've made the word conspiracy theory saying if something gets pegged into that point, you're a kook. So they said that because of conspiracy theory being a bad word, nobody questions anything.
Yeah.
And his view of postmodernism is the ability to question everything.
Yeah. I feel like it's just skepticism is all it is.
Right. And I it's funny because I've been making fun of the moonwalk all week just as a joke, we went to the moon. But if you go to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and you see the landing capsule and you see the thing up close, you're like, holy crap. That is like the fakest looking thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
You're like, even if it was real, you're like, them guys must have had balls the size of a bull to think that they would come back in and land with that thing, literally riveted together.
Yeah.
With an iPod.
That would be with an iPod. It was like 1/10 of an iPod.
Yeah.
Right? 1/100th of an iPod. I forgot to get the. Is that are you from down that way? Or are you from?
I'm actually from Eastern Kentucky. My family moved. My family's from all over. My dad's side of the family were Cherokee, and they hid originally from northern Georgia, who got put on the Trail of Tears. And of course, I didn't know much of the history till after my dad died. One of my aunts gave me the handwritten notebook about the family history, which went all the way back to northern Georgia. They went to they lived in Paducah, Kentucky for a long time. They didn't make it across the river. That they were part of the first crew didn't make it through the winter.
Oh yeah.
And then the Carter Carburetor Factory in Illinois was hiring, and I don't know if the bosses at the Carter Carburetor Factory were, favorable to natives or they were natives, but they hired a bunch of Native Americans, and all my relatives moved to Illinois,
Yeah.
and then migrated to East St. Louis. But I wasn't raised with that part of the family. I was raised with a family of they say Irish and Scottish, but anybody come through Ellis Island at some point, you're not really sure unless you're obvious that they're short redhead, you know.
Yeah.
And but for Eastern Kentucky, I had relatives all through Eastern Kentucky, and I was the part of the northeast part of the state. But my grandfather would say, "Come and get you," and then we'd go visit relatives that were like 3 hours away in the mountains, just to say hi. Oh, that was kind of the culture I grew up in. That Eastern Kentucky was Mecca.
Yeah. Cool.
And then once I started learning about the Whiskey Rebellion, then it became even more that.
All right. Well, don't start yet. Don't start that yet. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I thought we were recording.
Well, we were recording, but we were just, weren't officially started yet. Now we're starting.
All right.
All right, everybody, welcome to everyone's favorite show once again. I'm here with John, and we're going to talk about a lot of shit today. I don't know. I think we're just going to wing it and see what happens.
We talk about the people I've pissed off on Twitter the last day or two.
Yeah,
or
sure.
week.
Sure, whatever. I know. I met John on Twitter, so. You want to tell people your handle? Or?
Yeah, it's it changes weekly anymore. It seems it's base collapsitarian. It's always got some kind of point about collapsitarian in there. And saying that, we have to give a good shout out to Skip,
of course,
the godfather of collapsitarianism.
It's the Free Rifleman.
Free Rifleman.
Yeah. On Twitter. So. Yeah. Skip's the man. So why don't you, for people who don't know, kind of explain collapsitarianism?
I always tease that there's a pipeline. Everybody teases libertarians of going to alt-right, which is I think anybody libertarian goes to alt-right was alt-right to start with. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a strong movement from libertarianism to ANCAPs. But I think that anybody's got like some kind of legitimate life, and most libertarians do. They have day jobs and retirement 401ks, and they worry about it. And it's like, you have a ton of anxiety, and I think that you're like you have a feeling in the back of your head like in 5 to 10 years, 3 years, 9 months, whatever, it's going to go away. So you're going to spend, you accept that there's going to be a collapse.
Yeah.
And instead of being like a prepper who's burying money in the backyard or bullets in the backyard, you just accept that there's going to be a collapse, and you start preparing your skills or your life for a collapse. Like people like buying property in the middle of somewhere. If it depends on the size of the collapse. Like you might not be able to have property.
Right.
It's like, it's not like you're going to have a deed that you're going to say, this is my property. And it'll go back to the only right you have are the ones you're willing to die for.
Yeah.
Which is your natural rights.
And then you have them up until the point that you lose your life.
Right.
So. That's kind of where the objectivists come from in the first place, isn't it? Sort of.
Yeah.
But then they extend and think that the government should have the right to do that on your behalf.
Right. And that's it. And I always tell objectivists that if Ayn Rand had stopped at the fountainhead, I would be all right with your personal, what you have, you're willing to protect and die and destroy is fine. But I think that I'm not an Atlas Shrugged fan, because it was the corporate, these producers need to be protected by a government entity, and it's like, that's not where my belief system.
Well, that's where the problem lies, is when you start mixing the corporations with the government.
Right. Well, the corporations wouldn't exist if there wasn't a government.
Right.
They exist because of, as a tax shelter, or a way to get funds, taxes, grants. And, God bless corporations. They give us, modern people jobs and stuff. And a person that didn't have a corporation would not be able to have a business, even one person with a business. You have to incorporate to protect yourself. But, at this point, it's like, I don't know how, I don't want to use the analogy of unions, because I never believed that the unions were as useful as everybody likes to give them credit for. but that it's at the point now that they've become their own bureaucracy.
Yeah. You don't think the unions had a purpose at the time when they were formed originally, though? Like, I mean, at some point, the people got to rise up in some way, right?
Yeah, and I guess I'm fine with voluntary unions and that people, all the workers get together and say, hey, we're going to be a unit to negotiate with the boss. But that's not what exists now.
No, definitely not.
It's their own version of their entitlement to the company because they provide the labor. And I'm like, no, you're replaceable. You know, that you didn't take that chance and investment and risk to create this factory and this physical thing that's going to create a product. You just provided your back, which everybody on the street was willing to do if they're ambitious enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess if the Woody Guthrie story was inspirational, but I was like, you go to Eastern Kentucky, the coal mines, the union didn't do anything for the safety of those coal miners that exist there now.
Yeah.
Or their lives are no better. There's much other things that could have done in Eastern Kentucky and made their lives better, even not working. Eastern Kentucky is land cheap enough and you could live off the grid and survive to this day.
Yeah. So in a lot of ways, it's the same with any kind of bureaucracy that even if the intentions are good at the beginning, it eventually just exists to make sure it continues to exist, right?
Yeah, I'm sure, like, say a fireman's union, that the fireman needs protection, so if he gets hurt on the job and he's working for the city and he needs protection, I understand that purpose of the union to make sure that physically he's protected and financially he's protected, so they don't just say, oh, you got hurt on the job, you're fired, you're without income and you're hurt, you can't provide a job. I understand the purpose of that, but I don't think that the union in general provides that service for the employees.
No.
I think that probably the firemen's union might be one of the best situations where a union needs to exist, because firemen do a dangerous job where they're going into it's not like they can prepare for whatever they're going into.
Yeah.
And there's hardly a time when you'd hear a fireman go, we're not going in there to save, there's a building full of, babies. They're not going to say, well, we're not going in there, it's not safe. You always hear the firemen going into those types of situations.
Yeah, they're always trying to help people. I agree. I was just trying to play devil's advocate a little
No,
bit.
it's fine. I grew up in a strong union family that my uncles, they were the typical hillbillies. They moved from Eastern Kentucky to the Cincinnati area to get jobs at Ford and GM respectively.
Yeah.
And they always tease. There's that song by Dwight Yoakam, reading, writing Route 23, where the hillbillies would break down in Cincinnati area because the cars couldn't make the Detroit, so GM and Ford built factories there.
Yeah.
And I grew up hearing, the union. I don't want to say propaganda. I mean, at the point that was their, that's what they had, good jobs.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them had pensions and got to retire with good retirement, and were able to have a nice house and a couple of cars.
Right. They moved up the social chain because of what they had, and they was able to retire. My grandfather died, left my grandmother a good pension, and she did really good stuff with it. I mean, she went to like Africa and South America, built houses after hurricanes and stuff. She lived a comfortable life. I can't say that wasn't good.
Yeah.
But now we're still, like, if you buy a new car now, you're paying for those pensions.
Oh, yeah.
That you added it to the bottom line of the consumer.
Yeah. Well, and then that's the thing. They've secured pensions for a lot of people, and then the future generations are going to have to give it up because you can't keep.
Right,
compiling it all.
It also the moving it to 401ks was smart, because it gave the general public this vested interest in Wall Street being successful.
Yeah,
and not just successful but honest.
Yeah,
which I mean, I don't know that that's being done, but it causes the average person to go, now I'm going to watch the Dow Jones.
Yeah,
now I'm going to see where my money's invested, because this is what I'm going to have to live on when I can no longer work. So the 401k movement was a better situation than pensions. It was good for the companies too. companies only have to give 5% compared to whatever they were given for a pension for someone that could live another 30 years after they retired.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's a smart move, but at the same,
Oh, it was good. I mean, the company's overhead was dramatically dropped by having 401ks.
Yeah.
I mean, 5-6% is what they invest now. What would a pension be if they had to invest for someone for only 30 years at that?
Right. But I mean, it's better for them, but at the same time, it's all really relative because we're all putting in, what is the stock market?
Right. It's true, and that's what's so ironic when every presidential candidate wants to go after this, Wall Street. They're always like, "Oh, we're going to punish Wall Street." It's like, well, that's going to go right to hard to the consumer.
Yeah, that's the only way that we're approved by the government to spend our pre-tax
right
contributions for retirement.
Right. And how many of us would, I'm 10 years away from hoping to get my 401k or 8 years away from getting my 401k legally without quitting my job. It's like, I'd like to think that it's going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard thing is I don't want to root for it, mostly because I got kids, And I want them to, enjoy a relatively stable future too, but realistically, you don't know how long any of it will last.
And that's
happen anytime.
And that's why I went to the point of collapsitarianism is like, that could be gone.
Yeah.
And, as much as I hate, I've been physically to Wall Street. I've seen the guys with the fake tans and Armani suits, and it's like, these people would not be like hanging out with me on typical Saturday night.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to have a resentment toward those people. Like I hate that I'm creating these guys a really good living so they can fly a helicopter to New Jersey to the beach. But they also hold my future. It's like, so they could crash that, and I have nothing. So
yeah, well, I mean, that's
so my collapsitarianism is like, okay, I've got to create enough skills and ability to take care of myself.
Yeah. If something happens.
I mean, if you look at the numbers, it's like it's not if it's going to happen. It's just when it's going to happen.
Well, it's when. It may not be our lifetimes. We may not witness it, but it will happen.
Yeah,
eventually.
Right. It's like they're pointing at some bubble. Like it was a housing bubble. That wasn't all of it either. It's always consumer confidence.
Yeah.
And the consumer quits having confidence, or the consumer doesn't have something they want to buy, or they're not influenced to buy something, and they just quit spending. Then there's a bubble that's going to pop. I don't know that there's different markets than there was in 2008, 2009. There's the pop market, which is a growing market, but it's being bought up by the big, but it's a product. It's like just like bourbon is a product. That's all it is. It's just a new product that people will give, for a while. The internet. How many people have businesses on Facebook Marketplace? Small businesses selling junk that didn't exist in 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
Craigslist, the ability to market your product online for free that didn't exist 2008, 2009, which made more entrepreneurs. That sort of stuff exists. I'm sure the gray and black market is 10 times bigger than it was in 2008, 2009.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that that's like lessening like having a safety net for the collapse. But I don't have much stock that you're going to vote the right person in or get the right movement of people in there, because there's not a vast movement of people going, we have to fix what is wrong with the economy and with the culture.
No.
There's a tax and spend culture that is overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the proposals everybody's making now on both sides of the aisle are just going to cost more and more money, and at some point we can't service the debt anymore. So what do you do then? What do you do when the debt outgrows what you're bringing in? And then what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny. Everybody I see that constantly. People's posting what the national debt is. It's like they're just going to print more money to pay it. Or if, it's not like they're saying we got to, only Rand Paul sort of says, we're not going to pass any new bills if we don't cut something.
That dude killed me too when he pulled it on the 9/11.
I know.
Shit. It's like, of all the things to pull it on, what a dick.
I know.
I mean, I agree that we need to, start cutting spending in other places, but come on. There's been a lot of chances to throw a fit about it.
He just did that so he'd get invited to Thanksgiving dinner.
No shit.
Ron's like, yeah, dude, you've been playing golf with Trump.
No
You're
shit.
not
What's
coming.
going on
You're
here?
not coming to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's funny. But, yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if maybe it can be sustained, right? Maybe they can just keep inflating it now. I don't know.
There's if you can get, I won't say American jobs, if you can get enough money coming into the economy to pay it, but it is a point where you have it's like every financial consultant sits down, they're looking at what you're bringing in and what you're spending out. It's like you can't maintain it if you can't.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Yeah, and I don't.
My thinking is you should never have more debt than you have saved. Like, if you are borrowing money on something, you should have the money to pay it off if the shit hits the fan.
Right. It's a classic Dave Ramsey. It's like, then it would have been nice to have Dave Ramsey on, some board, on Trump's board, but Dave Ramsey, like, I don't know if he was even offered, but I'm sure he was like, oh, hell no.
I don't think he have an interest in that.
Yeah.
If he were, I don't think that they're interested in people who actually want to do something that works.
I used to listen to Dave Ramsey. It's pretty interesting. And like after like a month of listening to him, though, you can answer every call when somebody calls in. Like, I got $23,000 in credit card debt, and I'm making $13,000 a year. And what do I do? And I could answer every one. He's like, all right.
There was one where a guy called in and was asking if it was okay to buy a motorcycle. And he's like, well, how much do you have in the bank? He's like, $1 million. And he's like, yeah, you can buy a motorcycle. He's like, how much debt do you have? He's like, I don't have any debt. You can buy a motorcycle.
Exactly.
How much is the motorcycle? $4,000. You can buy the motorcycle.
Yeah, I think that was a ringer, just so he didn't have to answer the people. It was like, listen.
The same question over and over.
Yeah.
Listen, read the book. It tells you in the first one. Read the snowball.
Quit sleeping, start doing crystal meth, and get 3 jobs.
I mean, that's what I did. I did the snow, whatever that method is, where you find the smallest bill and pay it off.
Pay it off,
work
move
your
to the
way
next
up.
one. Yeah.
That's what I did. I got out of my mess. Then I met my wife and she saved me. Bang! Until the collapse happens, and I'll save her.
That's right. It's like, here, honey, I'm going to carve up a piece of firewood for you.
Right. Well, see, like, I could live in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. The only way I could talk my wife into it is if the collapse happens.
Right.
Then she'll be like, okay, let's go to that cabin in the middle of nowhere. And I'll be like, let's go.
Yeah, I'm not one of those guys that fantasize about the apocalypse. I love apocalypse movies.
I do too, man.
Until I read the book, The Road. Who wrote that book? It's depressing as can be. It's the father and son are walking, and
what's it called? The Road.
The Road. I know everybody's listening like, oh, I know that book. It's depressing as it's a father and a son, and they're starving. There was some nuclear disaster or some weather disaster that made it where nothing grows. Everybody's starving. And there's cannibals.
Oh, cannibals.
So they have to worry about cannibals. And the father's dying. And he's trying to find a safe place for his son to live. And at the end, I can't remember. It's been a long time. I read it right at Christmas time a couple of years ago. It's like the most depressing Christmas ever.
Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And it's anyway, at the end, he finds this people to give his son to as he, dies. And you don't know if the people were cannibals or good people.
Yeah.
So, he might just his son might have been Thanksgiving dinner.
For all we know.
Yeah.
Poor kid could be goner.
But it's the most depressing book, and after you read that, it's like, that's really what the apocalypse is going to be.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be terrible.
It's not going to be, the fear of the Walking Dead.
I think that's what part of what, like, when you look to history, it can give you an idea of what the future could possibly hold. And so it kind of makes me a little more content because I know not like I want, I hate the government and I hate violence and all kind of aspects, but I kind of know that, things are getting better, and I think we're kind of at a point where some people are going to decide they want to keep making it better, and other people are going to want to destroy it all.
I want to believe that there's good people out there, and
but,
there's maybe 1-2 politicians that are good people that care about being civic servants, but for the most part, I don't. It's hard to be hopeful when you, and it probably don't help when you get on Twitter all day and see.
No, yeah, that doesn't help at all.
The amount of negative stuff, but it's not even Twitter. It's like the news cycle, and then you become very cynical. It's like when you read 2 or 3 news stories and you see the spin.
Yeah, you see like how many rich and powerful people are fucking children.
Yeah, that's.
And then you're like, God damn it! Why can't we just kill everybody?
How many crazy news stories has happened, and the Epstein thing is not in the news every single. Like if I had a news channel, I was the head of a news channel. Like every day, we're leading off with this story.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
And we're going to tie everybody that's tied to him. We're going to make sure that they're going to be accountable for why they were on his plane or why they were at his island.
Yeah,
but it's not. It's because they're even if they're not guilty of the crime, they have an association with people they don't want to break.
Yeah.
If you look at the list of the people who's been to the island, it's all Hollywood and it's all media elites. It's like they're not going to cross those people.
No. Well, it's this shit's way fucked up. That shit is.
Yeah.
Like when you get that kind of, because you can never trust that.
And I keep telling people to quit using the terminology like lizard people or Satanists. It's like, no, they're just evil pedophiles.
Uh-huh.
And when you use terms like lizard people or Satanists, you're just making it where it's part of the conspiracy theory or the Pizzagate.
But I like calling them lizard people.
I do too. I do. It's like it's a good description of them. Not being humans.
I do make it a point to point out that I don't believe that they're actually lizards.
Right.
I just use that term for evil fucks.
Right. It's like they're non-humans. They're evil. They're subhumans. But when the terminology gets used, people are like, oh, that's just a crazy conspiracy. People, Alex Jones, conspiracy, Pizzagate. So it's easy for them to bury that story that this Epstein thing is not as bad as you think it is. It's just this crazy Pizzagate people. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Oh, it's just a crazy fucking child rapist.
Yeah. It's
trafficker. Fuck that guy. And that's why I say I don't care. I wouldn't care if they found out that Richard Simmons was on that island. I'd want him prosecuted.
Right.
He's a national treasure.
Right. It's that they're not doing a story, and it's like they're not doing a story because even if they're not guilty, they're guilty. The people are guilty of association with people that have something to do with it.
Well, it's the same reason they covered for the whole time. They never mentioned the fact that it wasn't big publicity when he got away with that shit in Florida.
Right.
If somebody like, what's his fuck? George Zimmerman. That dude got acquitted for all this shit, and then every move that he's made has been publicized by fucking everybody.
Right.
Jeffrey Epstein gets convicted, gets an easy ass deal, and then he conveniently doesn't register with the New York police while he's living there, and they're not keeping tabs on his activities.
Right, they broke many laws to allow him to live a comfortable lifestyle, and through socialite parties.
Yeah,
and people went to his parties knowing that he was a convicted child rapist from Florida.
These people know people. They will fuck you and then eat your brains.
But it's like
probably.
Allegedly.
Sorry, that's what I mean.
Well, people disappear. I mean, the missing. You go to Walmart's. There's always right at the bathroom. There's always big billboards of missing children.
Yeah.
But I never see like, oh, we found this person.
No.
And it's the same with. There's always a push. I have a friend that lives in Montana. And she's Native American, and she's always sending me stuff about the amount of missing Native American children, and it's totally not followed up on.
Yeah,
and it's like, it's easy for these pedophiles to get away with this. They just bury the evidence literally.
Yeah, Well, if it just like everything else with the internet, that everybody's like, oh my god, it's like this shit's been going on. You're just now finding out about it. So
Right.
It's been fucked up.
But I mean, this is a major case that could bring down both political parties and Hollywood. And the entertainment, the amount of money in entertainment is probably as big as any manufacturing in America.
Probably more, wouldn't you think?
And you literally bring down Hollywood and both major parties with this case, and it's not the head story every day. It's not the headlines in every newspaper. Not that I even know where to get a newspaper anymore.
Yeah, but we all know who worked for the parties,
Right.
or who the media works for. Whatever. I mean, you know, they all drum the same line when it's about war and shit. But
Right.
remember when Trump dropped his first bomb, and they're all like, "Oh my god, look how presidential he looks." I wanted a meme with like bombs blowing up over.
Well, it's this week. Was it Chuck Schumer's like going to the detainment centers, and he's talking about humans in cages, and he's looking disgusted. It's like, well, this just didn't happen in 2016. These cages weren't built 2 years ago.
Yeah.
These cages have always been there. It's all politics.
It's all a big show. What
It's
are they
theater.
distracting you from?
Right.
What do they not want you to see?
Right.
That's what you need to be looking at, because that's pretty fucked up
Well,
right there.
The fact that most people cannot explain to you what our foreign policy is. Nobody. When Hillary wanted a no-fly zone over Syria, nobody could tell you why.
Yeah.
Or any happening that's going on in the Middle East. They can give you talking points about what they hear, but they can't tell you why there's a problem in the Middle East. They want to say, oh, it's the Muslim problem or it's the Arab Spring, but they can't lead you back to the core issues. They can't give you the foreign policy and how we deal with the Muslim versus the Jewish issue, the Palestinian Israeli issue, or where Saudi Arabia stands in it, and why Saudi Arabia doesn't help Palestine, and why Saudi Arabia sides with Israel. And it's like, they can't explain none of that to it. It's very complicated. It's not easy. But if we're going to spend $700 billion a year on a military budget and send volunteer soldiers to go die over there, it should be a complicated issue that you educate yourself on.
Yeah.
I mean, people educate themselves on law issues constantly. I mean, what's the law and order?
Yeah.
I mean, Law and Order's probably educated more people on law in America than any Harvard ever did.
Yeah.
But people won't educate themselves on our foreign policy because it's messy.
Well, it's messy, or I mean, maybe a lot of people would rather not know. You know, maybe they don't want to see how the sausage is made.
Right, and then that's it. I guess that's why hot dog manufacturers stay in business.
I mean, that's what we were talking about with China, though. It's like people in the United States they want to look down their nose at China because of their pollution problem, but they don't realize that their pollution problem is feeding our consumption problem here.
Right, and
and that's the only reason we have better shit now, is because we've outsourced all that type of manufacturing to China.
Yeah, the punishing China is like, for one, they're better collapsitarians than we'll ever be. I mean, they're just going to dig a hole and live in it for a while, and they're experts at it. But you could shut down China. Just you go to the local WalMarts. The parking lot's full 24/7. It's like when people get tired of Chinese goods, they would just quit going to Walmart or Target or Sears or wherever they get their products at. Family Dollar. Family Dollar is probably worse than Walmart's. But they don't, because the average consumer says, I'm being, and this plays into people not knowing about inflation. You make this amount of money does not mean what you take home.
Right.
And so you're like, I got this amount of money to buy a new set of pans this year. They probably don't think this way, but they know. Everybody has that mental ideal where they can afford to buy. Like, do I go to the fancy cooking store and buy the pan, or do I go to Walmart to buy the pan? Chances are they're made at the same place, got the same brand name on them, identical. But Walmart's is going to be, $10 for a set of 3, and the cooking store is going to sell it for $103 a piece.
Yeah. So
inflation plays a huge role into that.
Well, yeah, inflation, and then I mean all the other taxes and shit that you have to pay just to even have a business open.
Right, and
pays.
all that is all the inflation, and I bring all taxes into my mind is inflation.
Yeah.
That everything comes into inflation. If you have to. When you have to pay a library tax on your paycheck every week, that's part of the inflation. That's money you're not taking home.
Yeah.
And while I think libraries are a great thing, I think that if the government wasn't paying for it, I think that communities would probably go, we need a library.
Yeah.
Everybody has good feelings about a library. They have good feelings about a librarian. They have a good feeling about a place where people can go educate themselves. Even though there's more information on most smartphones that's in a library, I think people have a good feeling about that as a community source, a community core. And I don't think that would be a hard...
Well, you got to have somewhere where you can take your kids to go have the tranny read them a story, too.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Well, I mean, everybody needs a job.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it is free or a community service.
Yeah, I think those are probably more isolated situations.
Well, it's just like everything you see. Did you see that the chick who's suing the waxing place because they wouldn't wax her testicles?
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, and
it's hard to even keep a straight face when you say waxing her testicles.
Yeah, but that's like yet another story where there's like, if we're hearing this story, it's sensationalism for a reason.
Yeah.
What else is not going? I mean, there's a lot more crazier stories. That story's out of Canada. There's probably a lot more crazier stories coming out of Canada than
transgender nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably for sure.
I mean,
most definitely.
And to be quite honest, they should say, well, sue all the waxing places and see how you do in court.
Yeah.
There's probably not a judge alive who's going to go, yeah, you have the right to...
Nobody has to touch anybody's balls, man.
Yeah.
Are you going to take the prostitutes to court when she laughs at your little pee-pee?
I think that's a sensational story that's hiding some other story. It also probably
I think it's just people like stupid shit, too.
Yeah, it creates... I'm sure Jack at Twitter loves when it happens because how much, you can watch his stock go up because of it. But I don't know. Somebody's got to wax their balls.
I feel like you should wax your own balls.
Yeah, it's probably true. Oof.
But I mean, if there's somebody out there who's willing to do it, they could probably fetch a pretty decent price for it.
Yeah, that's it. That's the market always provides.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I might wax balls, but it would strictly be on a per case basis. Like it wouldn't be a blanket like I'll wax anybody's balls. It would have to be a very special case and a lot of money.
I am not moving to that collapsitarian village.
Yeah, well, you don't have to. I mean, by then, that's kind of a luxury you won't need.
Yeah.
You won't need your balls waxed.
Well, I mean, sooner or later, it's probably, I mean, did you ever...
I mean, if you're going to give me 12 gallons of gas, I'll wax your balls. If it comes down to that.
Have you ever seen the movie The Postman with Kevin Costner?
Which one? What was it?
It's called The Postman, and it really was it's a much better movie than The Waterworld was.
Yeah,
but
that's good.
It's
that sucked.
Post-apocalyptic, should have been drinking. Story about, and it's really good. I actually bought it on Amazon because my kids hadn't seen it. I was like, hey, you got to see it.
I remember hearing about it now, but I never saw it.
It is, these little communities that are, trying to survive this evil neo-Nazi Hitler type guy who's running, taking payoffs from all the camps. He is like Negan, except he's an open Nazi and kills people.
Fuck him.
And I mean that's how they're.
Negan kills people, though, doesn't he? I've never seen that show.
Yeah,
Negan. I haven't seen that part of the show.
Negan just did it to stay. I mean, it's like any leader. You're willing to kill people
whenever you have to.
Yeah, it was the same story, but Kevin Costner's character was like a guy that went from in the old days the guy that went from town to town putting on plays for the public as entertainment.
Oh yeah.
Which is, very valuable storytelling.
Like a minstrel.
Yeah, exactly. And he that was his job, and he got cold, and I don't know if he got beat up or cold or something. He got kidnapped by the Nazi socialist whatever guy, and escaped their camp. And in escaping his camp, he got cold and found this mail jeep. It was had a skeleton in it, and he stole their clothes and comes to these small towns telling them that he's bringing mail and that the U.S. government's returning.
Oh yeah.
And he gives these people hope. These communities. It starts connecting the communities with mail. It's actually kind of a heartwarming story. There's typical Hollywood storytelling, but it is that that there is a little bit of that people could return to these communities and let communities govern themselves and not have this centralized government.
Yeah.
Not needing the centralized government to tell these people how to live.
Right, but I mean, but you see that, and then they're all living like fucking cavemen, and everybody's like, "Well, I don't want to live like that." And it's like, well, I understand that, but it doesn't have to be like that.
No,
It only has to be like that because people are like, it either has to be this or it has to be that. Well, as long as you believe that, then it's going to be either this or that.
There's probably going to be big corporations but they won't be called corporations if there's not a government.
Right.
There will
be big companies, but nobody's going to let them they're not going to. Nobody's going to agree to give Nestle the rights to an entire lake of fresh water.
Right.
Right.
It's probably going to be. It's at the point in a modern culture where people's like, you're not dumping your tank of oil in our lake because we need that lake for our. We've at that point where we're like, oh, A equals B equals C. Wow, and where.
Yeah.
During the Industrial Revolution, everything went. Run crazy until people's like, oh, wait a minute, we like those good jobs, but we also like to breathe.
Yeah.
So there was a point in time where, and that's the point in time they always want to go back to, like in Pittsburgh, you couldn't go outside for more than 5 minutes. It's like probably what it's like in Beijing now.
Right. But we're collectively as we get more technology, we're starting to get, the problem is we haven't figured out how to network with each other to figure a lot of these problems out. I think that's a big part of the problem, especially now that we have the internet.
But it's not even networking. The story of the Falling Water House in Pennsylvania. The guy that built the Falling Water House. Who was the designer? I should know this. I'm a big fan of. Who's the famous architect that the Fountainhead was written about?
Motherfucker.
I know. I'm so bad. It's because I'm getting old.
Oh, I'm not that old. I'm just an idiot.
I'm old. Anyway, he the guy owned a chain of grocery stores in Pittsburgh, and as you can imagine, that would probably be a very profitable business. And his wife could not socialize with her wealthy girlfriends in their house in Pittsburgh because you couldn't go outside for more than 5 minutes without getting covered in coal dust and steel soot and carbon. So this is during the Depression, hires the famous architect, what you're about to tell me.
Well, Howard Rourke.
No.
That's the name of the guy in the book.
No, that's in the Fountainhead. No, the guy that designed the Fallen Water House. I know all the listeners are like, oh, I can't believe you don't know this.
I'm an idiot, dude.
I'm a huge fan of this guy, this architect.
It's not the only ones I know are house designers. Yeah, I don't see him.
Anyway. Type in the Falling Water House.
Falling Water House, I got you. Keep continuing.
Anyway, he builds this house, spends a ton of money. It's 90 miles south of Pittsburgh. Beautiful house on the side of a hill, has a creek run underneath. It is an amazing piece of architecture. But
yeah, it is Frank Lloyd Wright.
Frank
really?
Lloyd Wright.
I was going to say Frank Lloyd Wright because he's the only fucking architect I really know.
Yeah, Frank Lloyd Wright.
Okay, well,
which is crazy. There's we could go into a whole podcast about the Falling Water House and Frank Lloyd Wright.
Maybe later.
But anyway,
we'll see how this goes.
Yeah,
they'll be like, "Hey, will that guy just take over the show and you can retire?" Yeah, I suppose.
Anyway, he builds this house and he's so upset. He goes way over budget. I can't remember. It was like $150,000, which was a huge amount of money during the Depression to build a house for a weekend house. Which, I mean, he gets like an Albert Einstein vacation there. It's a really above the board place. Anyway, he decides he's going to clean up the city of Pittsburgh, and he single-handedly gets together a crew of volunteer businesses, people, and they make the steel mills. He makes the steel mills create, what they call them bag houses, where all the steel soot goes to bag houses, and then that product gets recycled. Which, by the way, you might not ever want to take vitamins again once you find out where that steel pollution goes to.
Vitamins?
Where do you think you get the iron?
I don't take vitamins.
Me neither. Anyway, they cleaned up. They single-handedly cleaned up Pittsburgh. It did not put the steel industry out of business.
Yeah.
The steel industry made money. They was socially conscious. They cleaned up Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a very beautiful place. I've been there a couple times.
Are you a Pittsburgh Steelers fan?
No, I'm not really a sports fan because
What about hockey? It's not really a sport.
I love hockey.
Okay,
I love to go to hockey games, but I don't watch the games on TV because if you're not there,
It's not the same.
it's
that's
not
for
the
sure.
same.
Yeah.
The culture of the crowd is just as important as the game itself.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's the same way. When I was a kid, I went to a couple of the big Red Machine, Cincinnati Red games.
Yeah.
But the ball games at the stadium at Cincinnati is much different than watching it on TV. It's like watching golf or bowling.
Yeah,
It's like,
baseball's boring on TV.
yeah. And when you're there, it's like drinking beer and meeting
eating
the
hot
players.
dogs,
Yeah, exactly. Spending
Yelling
$8
at
for
other fans.
exactly. It's really a spectator thing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like the Reds too.
But
My dad was a big fan.
I was a fan just because my family core moved to Cincinnati, and you were Reds fan. And my family were not football people. They were seasonal. We go the Reds, and then in the wintertime we drink and fight.
There you go.
We have
So you played hockey?
no, no. But there was the Cincinnati Stingers was the early Cincinnati hockey team.
Yeah.
And if you got perfect 10 at my school in Kentucky, you got tickets to the Stingers.
Nice.
Which that's when I discovered that hockey games were a lot of fun to go to.
Yeah, they are a lot of fun to go to.
They're a blast.
Yeah, sorry. If you're hearing a dog that sounds like it's being tortured in the background, it's not my dog. It's the neighbor's dog. It's not being tortured. It's just locked in the room, in a crate in a room while they're away. So it's just a little puppy, and it doesn't know any better.
Yeah, that's what puppies do.
Yeah, exactly. Poor little guy. I feel bad for him. Then he comes out, and he's like a 90-pound puppy. And I'm like, I don't really feel bad for you, dude. You're okay.
Yeah, he's got one of those self-feeders.
Yeah, he's not starving to death. That's for sure.
Thank goodness for capitalism.
Yeah,
that
he's
someone developed a feeder
very
for
cool.
animals.
Very young. Oh, that reminds me. Don't let me forget. I have to go look after my brother's animals when we're done. He's out of town. He's in the Poconos. You ever been out there?
No.
No.
Wait a minute. That's north of New York City.
Yeah, up in upper New York.
Actually, a couple years ago, I went up there to see a guy who put small diesel motors on motorcycles. And I had to see this. And he lived up in the side of a mountain.
How did that work out?
Oh, it was incredible. He takes like small 3-cylinder Bobcat forklift motors,
Yeah.
and puts them on he buys a Harley frame, aftermarket, and cuts the mounts out, puts his diesel motor, hooks it to a heavy duty Harley transmission, and insane amount of torque. They're hilarious.
But it's slow as fuck, right?
Oh no, he puts little turbochargers on them, and 150 horsepower. It weighs more than a Harley motor, but I seen that the guy like fly down the highway with these things.
I want one.
And it sounds incredible. Sounds just like a diesel,
Yeah.
black smoke and everything. And I told him, I was like, dude, if you're not marketing this to building these big touring bikes for these heads of industry to
Yeah.
drive down, because they want the big.
Well, you could
stack.
fucking like tow a car behind it.
Oh yeah, but they sound
Yeah.
incredible.
That's awesome.
They sound just, and if you see the sound doesn't match the video. And somewhere I've got an old video of this motorcycle going by you, and you hear a diesel go by you.
Yeah.
And you hear the turbo spool. It's like, oh man, I definitely, I'm like, in the back of my head constantly. It's like, I've got to build one of these things.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So you build bikes and shit before?
Yeah, I had a side business where I built motorcycles and restored motorcycles, painted cars. Literally anything would come into my shop. I have a bad habit of not saying no. It's like, you need your toilet seat painted? Oh yeah, well, I paint it,
So you paint too?
Yeah, but I haven't painted since I had my current job because it's not profitable.
So you learned to say no.
Yeah, it's only because it wasn't profitable.
Yeah, that's still saying no though.
It's like
not saying no is okay if you're making
it keeps
money.
my backup. It's my backup plan. Like if
Yeah.
I'm broke and I'm unemployed, I'm painting.
Yeah.
I still keep my equipment. I keep my skills. I try to keep up on the technology. But I mean, literally, the technology of painting is that in my whole life, there's always been somebody painting something that you can still buy the original stuff that Henry Ford painted with.
Yeah.
And paint.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
oh yeah, there's still a crude. There was a paint gun that people used for since the day one called the Binks number 7 was the paint gun, and every standard paint gun, aftermarket paint gun, the regular time, not the gravity feed ones, the siphon feed, every one of them was ripped off of the Binks number 7. But you can still buy the Binks number 7. I still know people that spray, paint with Binks number 7.
Really?
And they use enamel or lacquer, and they still paint.
That's pretty awesome.
And there's crazy technology. There's water-based primers now that you got to dry with ultraviolet lights.
Wow.
And
so what's the benefit in that?
I think I think it's good, better for the environment. I think it's one of the things that dries really quick when you put the ultraviolet light on it.
Oh,
it just drives up the overhead.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
But
of course, drives up the overhead, and of course, when the overhead goes up, the markup goes up a little bit.
Oh yeah, and it's crazy because I got out of the paint industry 11 years ago, and there was a lot of safety features as far as like Nomex suits and Nomex hoods that were disposable that you had pumped fresh air into, and latex gloves and stuff like that. But I like watch these shows on TV. I love Motor Trend on Demand. It's a great cable show.
Yeah.
I have a lot of criticism about the shows, but like you see these guys in there painting and they're like wearing a dust mask and their t-shirt, and I'm thinking they're spraying dangerous chemicals. It's like, guys, didn't you know this stuff's going to kill you?
No, yeah, everybody knows, nobody cares.
Yeah, that's it. It's like I'll die
still
when I'm
smoke cigarettes.
I'll die when I'm 70.
Yeah. I've been remodeling houses forever, and we were doing old houses out in the country, and would be cutting those siding. Well, the siding's asbestos.
Oh yeah.
So you're cutting it on a saw, and that dust is flying in your face and shit, even if you're outside.
And the stuff, the plaster mat they sprayed inside.
Yeah.
And all the insulation inside those old houses where that loose stuff, that's just straight asbestos.
It's all fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'll die of black lung.
Lead paint.
Yeah, that's why I got my wife a big life insurance policy. Take care of her.
Yeah, I mean, processed food's probably just as bad as
that's the worst thing.
Breathing brake dust.
Yeah, I mean that's everything is, comes down to diet and life choices mostly.
Right.
I mean you don't see, they don't find a bunch of cancer in the bodies they dug up like 10,000 years ago.
Right, and it's really crazy. And I've said this that all the medical technology we have, people are still not living longer.
Yeah.
It's like I had my grandmother. She lived to be like 108. She was a diabetic.
Yeah.
She ate candy bars, and she was like 100 years old. They threatened to cut her legs off, and she's like, "I'm 100 years old. Cut my legs off." And he's like, "You're going to die?" And she lived 8 more years.
Damn.
And I'm sure she ate badly her whole life, but the food she ate badly was probably better than the processed food we're eating that is healthy.
Yeah. Well, that's probably a good point. I mean, we try to do the whole shop on the perimeter of the store.
Right. Don't stop in the middle.
Yeah, and they got a garden.
Except for that ice cream aisle.
Yeah, you got to hit the ice cream.
Man, they got some great ice cream
chips,
stuff now.
man. I'm bad with chips.
I'm telling you, I don't know what deregulation they did to make craft ice cream, but I fully support it.
Yeah, is it good or what?
Yeah, there's so much great ice cream now.
Yeah.
And a great name. It's like going to the hot sauce aisle. There's like such great names like Funky Monkey ice cream. Oh, I'm buying that. I don't even know what's in it.
Yeah, it sounds good though.
Yeah.
Funky Monkey. It's just like beer has all these cool names too.
Yeah, but oh my God. We'll go on a tangent on my hatred of IPAs.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't like IPAs, but I started drinking them like 20 years ago, but I don't really drink them anymore as much. I mean, I still drink them, but I don't drink them that much. My
hatred is that you grow up in Cincinnati. There was, the German, it was German beer.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, you either drank Wiedemann or Yingling or Red Dot or so one of the classic German beers, and it was like, they were strong German beers. It's like floaters, And now, like, you cannot find a strong dark lager that's made in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
In the spring, they have a Christian Moorline will make a Bock.
Yeah.
And it's a good strong beer. It's like, oh, that's what beer's supposed to taste like. But
my buddy just opened a brewery in Cincinnati. It's a Happy Two brewery. It's at some pizza joint there. It's right by the riverfront, I guess.
I don't know, but they must be like a mass-produced company that's making products for people to make beer now.
Yeah.
Cheaper than mass-produced beer, not just in your closet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's always been guys who dealt the dealt all that shit. They just had their distributors had to get a little bigger as the craze got bigger, I think. So, well, I mean, I know like 5 different people who are part of big breweries and shit. It's just so prevalent. It's
Yeah,
so
I
many
mean,
people. It's big in Indiana right now.
good for pipe fitters too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you gotta have all the correct tubing.
Right, that's what I tell everybody. Everybody's all upset that there's these robots are going to replace them. It's like, no, I can't even keep a charging cable that works for a week.
Yeah,
You know, so
they're gonna need to keep making shit.
someone has to make somebody has to keep the robots maintained.
Yeah.
So you pipe fitters, electricians.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, send your robot out there to fix the transformer when it gets hit by lightning,
No shit.
or when the raccoon climbs in and bites it. You know?
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
See how that works out for you. But I mean, that I think that it's the same deal. I think it's a sensationalism, and people are getting so worked out. Like you hear Elon Musk be like, "Be afraid of AI." Well, I'm not afraid. I'm sorry, I'm not afraid of immigrants either. So
Yeah, I know. It's like, I hot walked horses back in the early '80s. Hot walking horses after the thoroughbred gets raised in the morning when they train them, they can't just take a thoroughbred that's all sweaty that's run a couple laps around the track back to the stall, to get kill him. So you got to walk him, calm him down, wash him off, take sweat off him. So that hot walker could make $10 a horse.
yeah,
And I mean, it was like 1982. I'm hot walking horses with, I'm sure they're illegal immigrants.
yeah,
And it's like they were here then. Any big city you go to Home Depot in the morning, and there's a parking lot full of them.
right.
20 years ago, the illegal immigrants getting jobs. It's like they didn't hurt the economy then. They didn't hurt the economy now.
Well, they all pay sales taxes on everything.
Yeah, and
it doesn't matter, and half of them end up getting Social Security numbers anyway.
I don't know if you've ever read the book The Fair Tax. That's
Yeah, I've read about it.
it's like that. That's the argument for the fair tax. It's like everybody will pay taxes in.
Yeah.
Your drug dealer who's buying Lamborghinis.
Yeah, paying big, $3,000 wheels on a $2,000 car, whatever it is.
Right.
You want to pay that, if you want to pay 20% taxes on wheels, go ahead, asshole. I don't care. Whatever it is, whatever the
Right.
number would be, I would lean. Like I'd always looked at that in my whole thing. Like I lean to a higher tax on everything besides like food and.
Yeah,
And
it
food
covers
and
that in that
clothing
fair.
or
It's been a
whatever,
long time
yeah,
since I
yeah.
read the book. It covered something
Yeah.
like that, and also it had some kind of.
It's been a long time since I.
There was a universal basic income
Yeah.
figured into the fair tax, but the thing that they always say it's going to tax the poor, and it's like, but if you read the book, it was like your tax product was going to go up from 19% to 23%, but you got 100% of your paycheck back.
Yeah.
And this was going to fix the Social Security problem. It's going to fix healthcare problem and stuff. And it's like when you read it, it's like, yeah, that's not a bad idea if you're going to have taxes. But it's like, to me, it's like the choice that you're going to be forced to tax was still offensive to me.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like, when it comes to tariffs, I don't find tariffs to be especially offensive. I find them to be. All taxes are offensive. It's just tariffs on top of everything else. But they paid for all the original highways and shit with tariffs and nothing else. They didn't have all that other shit. And when they sold the income tax, it was originally on the corporations. And now we give the corporations a break and they use the excuse, well, they'll hire more people. Well, you know what? Maybe they do. They don't fucking pay them more, whatever. Either everybody pays taxes or nobody pays fucking taxes. I don't really fucking care.
If
If you're a business, I don't think you should I think that the tax code should be simplified enough so that a guy who runs his own business making $100,000 a year doesn't have to jump through the same hoops as a guy who's making millions a year.
Right.
That's what I think. It's just bullshit because it's 78,000 pages or whatever.
Yeah, there's
At the very least, and like I said, that doesn't mean I'm endorsing any of it. I'm just saying at the very least, people should be pushing to simplify that
that's
shit.
probably the pragmatic part of my life.
Yeah.
Is like, and I don't want to say it, because it's what they always say. It's a necessary evil. I don't believe. To me, it's not a necessary evil. It's that we haven't used our brain power to come up with a better system.
No, it's like Thaddeus Russell says, it's just accepting that you have to live in this paradigm. It's not saying that that's the way it needs to be or that that's even necessarily the way reality is. It's just accepting that that's what's going on.
Right,
Whatever it is.
and that's because people have accepted it. It's like it's necessary evil to take care of the downtrodden and the senior citizens. And it's like, you can say all day long, well, in the old days, we didn't have this to take care of the senior citizens. And like, yeah, well, you also lived with the grandparents you couldn't stand.
Yeah.
That's not saying that I'm endorsing taxes either.
Yeah.
I am totally offended that my income that, I'm working my ass off for, getting out of bed and learning a skill to do, is taxed to pay for whatever that I don't find acceptable.
Yeah, and it'd be the same no matter what your point of view is. That everybody should look. If everybody looked at it that way, it'd be a little easier to. But they aren't, because if you're left wing, some of your tax dollars are going to pay for Republican or for schools where there's a Republican teacher teaching kids about creationism. So just so you know, that's the truth about your tax dollars.
Which the Creation Museum's another interesting.
Is it?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a room in there with wax figures of Adam and Eve, like with dinosaurs. And
Really?
yeah,
Let's pause on the wax museum. I have to take a pee pee.
in to shape it and make fence out. It was the actual fence itself. It wasn't that they put wire on it.
Really?
But
We're back, by the way. Osage Orange. We're talking about making bows, self bows, out of a single piece of Osage Orange. Sorry.
yeah, they
We just like start talking. I just met this guy today, and it seems like I've known him for years. We just like start talking, and we just keep going from one thing to the next. And we were like talking outside for 30 minutes. I was like, "Stop! Let's go inside and start talking." Before
it's the amount of useless information we both have.
yeah, it's awesome. It's great. I love it. That's why I started. That's what I'm saying. This is the show for people who have more interest in time.
I
got a lot of time, motherfuckers. So good luck.
There was I once wanted to build a natural bow, and I'm like, so I go online and reading, like, you got to have, I can't remember if it's the male or the female tree. The piece of wood has to be 8 foot long, can't have a knot or a twist in it. It's like, you can try to find that piece of Osage
Yeah,
orange.
good luck.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm surrounded by Osage orange because it's the same reason in Indiana and Kentucky as it was in Nebraska, that people, you'd find these Osage orange, I guess, groves.
Yeah.
In the middle of the woods for no reason at all, but somebody had built fence using it. They'd shape it because you could bend it and shape it, tie it to the ground, and it would grow in that area. And they did that in Nebraska. There's a lot more of that in Nebraska than there is anywhere else. And this guy has a whole grove of Osage orange trees that he makes. He'll sell you the planks out of.
So the trees would grow up out of like the fence that they built would drop buds and grow other trees and shit.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's badass.
It's like
That's pretty cool.
catalpa trees the same way.
Yeah.
And you can take a
Catalpa trees are the ones that have the big fucking dildos on them.
yes, and,
Right.
and the worms that people
Yeah.
fish. People love to fish with catalpa worms.
How big are they?
They're like caterpillars.
No, I'm talking. What are the ones that have the real long
Yeah,
ones like
it's-
that?
it
That's
does.
It's
Yeah.
like that long and has like beans in it.
Yep.
And you can like, cause
You can cut the limb off one of those and like stick that thing in the ground, and you don't even have to like do fancy plant. Next thing you know, there'll be a tree there.
really,
Oh, they send out sprouts. They're like willow trees too. Willow trees, you cut one down and it sends out sprouts,
Yeah.
around your lake.
it's a defense.
Oh yeah.
It's like fuck you, then I'll go 20 on me.
But Osage orange is like, it grows really fast, and it makes a great firewood. You don't want to put one in a fireplace because it pops and cracks, but
Yeah.
it's like extremely hard, extremely hot. So Osage orange was a good tree for the settlers to take out west when they homesteaded.
So what? They took them with them.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you probably could buy the saplings. I'm sure that every general store had saplings. As long you could buy a bag of saplings as long as you buy 50 pounds of sugar, 50 pounds of flour, and a bag of saplings.
Where did they come from originally?
I believe they were from the Carolinas. I think they were a southern tree,
Okay.
but they're
That makes sense.
It's like locust trees. Like I don't know where locust trees are from, but they can put them anywhere and they grow anywhere.
Yeah. No, folks, we're not in New York.
As long as there's not helicopters,
It's like
we're
the
good.
third time or whatever that there's been. No, that's interesting. Yeah, when he built that bow for me, that's zebra wood and Paduke, and I don't remember. And there's a black phenolic in the handles to kind of help with hand shock, and then it's got phenolic tips on it, so you can use a fast flight string. But he was originally, we were dossing around the idea of doing an Osage handle and then Osage veneers with clear glass, just kind of throwback look. But you saw the handle; it's got that recurve style handle. It's a little bigger. I really like that.
I live about 20 miles from Friendship, Indiana, and that's where the muzzleloader headquarters for the global muzzleloader shooters is.
Oh, really?
And so there's a lot of primitive, and I was really into primitive bows at the
Yeah.
time I was studying this. And so you just made it out of, it did not look fancy and finished like that. It was just
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. That's how they started.
and I'm sure the string you had to like
self-bows.
go kill
I used
a
sinew
woolly
and shit.
mammoth and skin the guts and run it through your teeth. And
You get sinew off a deer.
yeah, but it's not the same as a woolly mammoth. I mean,
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I live.
How primitive are we talking here?
I mean, I can get on the river and 20 miles and be at Big Bone State Park where Lewis and Clark found the woolly mammoths.
Oh, there you go. When I see primitive weapon season, I just picture myself in the tree with a 10-pound rock and just chuck it on the first head that I see.
Well, that's gonna say flat. And
know,
around here
whatever.
with deers, you can easily jump out of a tree with a flat rock and kill a
Yeah,
deer.
basically. I mean, I've shot several deer with my bow, and none have been farther than 12 yards.
Yeah,
And then,
I think I don't know that, especially because mostly you shoot unless you're shooting into an open field. I don't want that deer to run and suffer. And
No.
So shooting it close. The same with a shotgun. It wouldn't take a long shot with a
Yeah.
shotgun either.
I mean, I had a 60-yard shot with my shotgun, and that's like basically it. Like that's as far as I would shoot with it, you know. And I killed that deer one shot, and a couple seconds it was over with. So.
I keep saying I'm gonna go. There's a guy in Louisville that makes spears.
Yeah.
He went hunting, and he was going to use it. He was a primitive archer. He was going to go hunting in Africa, and he went over there, and they all made fun of him showing up with a bow, and they had spears.
Yeah.
And they were bringing down animals with spears, and so he come back and designed the perfect spears. And apparently, he says it's easier and more humane to use a spear than a bow.
I've heard similar things, I suppose.
And I keep saying I want to go down there and see what the guy's got. I just haven't had.
Yeah.
I know
I mean,
that it's one of the rabbit holes I'll go in. I'll
yeah.
never come out of.
But I mean, I feel like if it's about what's most humane, what's most humane would be a large caliber rifle.
Right,
You
it's
know,
true.
honestly.
Or a large caliber pistol to their head.
Yeah, it's at a close range. But I mean, at a distance, a large caliber rifle, if that you practice well with, that's the most humane thing we know for a fact, because
Right.
it'll pass through bone if it has to. Blah blah blah. But that's not what our question is. The question is, what do you want to do?
Well, I want to
Because
jump.
let's be honest. I mean, if you come out to stop me from killing a deer with a spear, you might get killed with the spear. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I want to, wear my
Allegedly.
wear my superhero costume and jump out of the tree with a spear.
There you go. I was thinking like beating him with a 12-inch purple dildo.
Well, we're not
That's not very primitive, though.
we're not hunting in Berkeley,
No shit.
which is the whole Berkeley and the Portland issue is like it's entertainment. It's sheer entertainment. I like
It's another distraction, though.
Yeah, the
probably, right?
reporter that got beat up. It's like I hate to be this way, but it's like
Andy No?
Yeah, you knew what you was walking into, and I don't know that he felt like he was going to get that beat up, but he wound up on Joe Rogan because of it.
Yeah.
and I hate that's.
Oh, man, good for him.
Yeah, I mean,
Jeez. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean,
Joe Rogan, I got beat up by A-Fay. Come get me.
Yeah, it's like. I mean, it is ridiculous, but it's like I'm not. It's like, of course, there's Antifa in every city, Chicago, New York. It's like, but there's not an Antifa in Pikesville, Kentucky.
Yeah.
It's like you can wear a MAGA hat downtown, Pikesville, Kentucky, and you're probably not going to get attacked by the local kid wearing a ski mask.
Well, the thing that kills me is I don't go around screaming at assholes who wear shade gear ass shirts and punching them in the mouth.
Yeah.
So why in the fuck do you care if some guy's wearing a MAGA hat?
Yeah, and it's funny because last time I went to New York City, I purposely wore a Cincinnati Reds cap just to see how many strange looks I got, and I got a lot of strange looks. They all double take my hat. It's like
This is what I would wear to New York.
yeah, it's like I think I was being an instigator. But,
Yeah, good for you.
But yeah, people purposely getting upset over something that they really shouldn't get upset about.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I grew up in the 70s, the bikers, I think Every Which Way But Loose, the Black Widows
Yeah.
with Clint Eastwood, them guys were wearing like commie stuff,
Yeah.
and Nazi swastikas on their jacket. And it was when that was made, it was meant as a joke. It was meant to be funny. It wasn't meant to be offensive.
Yeah.
And it's like now they could never make that. They
Yeah.
could never make that. Even if the bad guys were supposed to be bad, you still wouldn't put
Yeah.
swastikas on them.
Man, I watched a movie that was just made a few years ago, and I saw somebody doing like a takedown on the movie, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? That shit was meant to be a joke. Get over yourselves, whoever. I don't remember what it is now, but.
Do you think, and this is even modern culture, do you think that the show 24 could be made now like it was made when it originally came out? Because it was anti-Muslim, anti-terrorist.
I'll be honest, never watched it.
I watched the first season because it was an interesting concept that it was 24 hours. The show was going to take you minute by minute.
You want me to tell you why I never watched it? Because I had my heart broken by 24. It had one good season, or not 24, Prison Break. One good season.
I've never seen Prison Break.
I had one good season of Prison Break, and it turned to shit. And after that, I was like, I will never watch another show that's like this.
I watched the first episode of Lost, and I knew from the first episode of Lost that this was not going to have an ending.
Yeah.
I was like, this is something they're going to play out, and I'm going to hate it. So I never watched another
Yeah,
one.
I'm kind of over, well, whatever. They all suck.
Now,
Some shows are fun. Like, I like Parks and Recreation, because I can turn on 20 minutes and pay attention to a something else while I'm watching it, kind of.
I didn't watch The Office till it went into reruns.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Because I was like, I've never worked in an office. I'm not going to think this is funny. But when I watched the reruns, I'm like, oh man, that Dwight's hilarious.
Yeah, Dwight is funny.
And Jim looking at the camera. Look, I'm a huge fan of movies.
Yeah.
And the breaking the fourth wall was hilarious.
What was that?
With Jim in The Office.
Oh yeah, when he was breaking the fourth wall.
When he looks at the camera, I was like,
Yeah.
it cracks up every time. I'm like, oh man, I think that's hilarious.
Yeah. I thought when you said you're a big fan of movies, and then you said breaking the fourth wall is hilarious, and I was like, was there a movie named Breaking the Fourth Wall that I missed?
No, there probably will be.
Yeah.
But Hollywood's ran out of
They're running out of ideas. I was talking about it the other night, man. Everything is a goddamn remake of something, and the worst part is now we're remaking shit that was made when I was like in my 20s.
There's an official petition turned into the White House to ban Hollywood from making movies ever again because they're making the movie Cats.
Oh my god!
And I'm like, I can support that.
No shit. In this one case, state violence should be used. Let's shut down Hollywood.
Political prisoners.
Yeah. You're all pedophiles and horrible people.
Steven Spielberg is going to be put in prison.
Yeah. Notice I didn't say you're horrible people because you're pedophiles. You're horrible people because of the movies you're making.
Though I got to say, I seen Jaws in the 70s when I was a kid. I was 5th grade.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even take a bath that summer.
I'm gonna need a bigger beer. Boat. Sorry.
No, I loved that movie.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
And
I wasn't what year did it come out?
75.
Yeah, I wasn't alive.
I was in 5th grade.
You're fucking old, dude.
I am fucking old. I seen Smokey and the Bandit at the drive-in, first run at the drive-in. I seen Logan's Run at the drive-in with Farrah Fawcett.
Nice, she was hot.
Oh my god, that movie was so awesome. I think I'm going to say something real controversial. It was much better than Star Wars.
What was?
Logan's Run.
I don't think that I could disagree. I don't know that much, or I don't think that I would pick, but I'm not a giant fan of either.
I was not.
I like both movies.
I like to suspend disbelief.
Yeah.
When I go to a movie, I want to suspend disbelief. I want to walk out there going like, "Whew, I need to discuss this."
Yeah.
And in fact, that's like, I have 4 kids, and the most favorite thing for us to do is go to a movie and spend an hour driving home discussing movies.
Yeah.
And nobody else thinks this is entertaining, but we think it's hilarious. And I hate that I've seen all these great movies in the 70s without seeing them with my kids.
Yeah.
So now I'm like subject my kids to these in the TV, and they're like, "Oh my God, Dad, that's awful."
Yeah, well, it's different when you see it on screen, right? Yeah, for sure.
And also, it's been played over and over, remade by 1,000 other movies, so don't have that special feeling of the first time you see something exciting like Jaws.
Yeah. So have you seen anything good recently? Any good movies recently?
The last movie I can say that I thought moved me. I mean, I've seen movies that were, decent and they were great, but the last.
Does that glass keep refilling itself, or did I not see you refill it?
Yeah, I don't know how that happens.
Oh well. You're a magician.
That the last movie I thought was well made, and it was an original was the Secret Life of Walter Mitty with Ben Stiller.
Oh, I did not see that.
He did
Was
not.
it good?
Yeah, he told a good. He veered from the book, but it was still a daydreamer who, and I don't remember the book. The book was just a short story. And I don't believe in the short story he ever was a success. He was just a daydreamer.
Okay.
But Ben Stiller brought the guy from a daydreamer who had a decent job to your hero archetype. But he never become the hero like the Superman fixed all the problems and the city gave him awards. He just become a successful a satisfied human being in what he felt good about in his own life.
Yeah.
He was not saving the city. He had to sacrifice something, and his mother had to sacrifice something important. It was. But in the end, the quality of their life had improved.
Yeah.
And it was an inner
He's the unsung hero.
Yeah, it was an inner satisfaction at the end, and not a financial satisfaction.
So he was like the kind of more like never mind.
It was a well-made movie.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And
when did that come out? Recently?
It was maybe, now I'm thinking 5 years ago, 4 years ago.
Not very recent.
But Ben Stiller was in it. Sean Penn was in it. Sean Penn did a very likable person. He was not a typical. I mean, he was a typical grouchy Sean Penn
I
character.
wondered how him and Ben Stiller got along after Ben Stiller was in Tropic Thunder and they trashed him for playing that retarded
I don't know,
guy.
but I never seen Tropic Thunder.
Oh my
Here's the
God.
thing. I've got 4 kids. It's very hard for me to see movies. Like, I've never seen The Hangover.
Sir, you need to do something about that.
I know.
What are you going to do?
I keep hearing about
Let's tie your kids up for 4 hours and you can watch those 2
Now-
movies, The Hangover and Tropic Thunder.
it. I shouldn't say this. I'm probably going to have to edit it out. But
No, I'm not say it if I have to edit. I'm lazy.
my kids are homeschooled. We don't have bedtimes. So, like, I'll be watching a movie at 11 o'clock at night. All my kids are there watching TV with me.
So what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that, except people think that kids should have bedtimes and kids shouldn't stay up late watching TV.
My last guest, the episode I just released, Justin, they've homeschooled a kid for a short period of time, but they have them all in like alternative type of academies and stuff like that.
We do
So, I'm all for doing what's best.
Yeah,
for
I'm
your
like-
family.
Yeah, it's more of an unschooling. It's like when my
Yeah.
kids are interested in something, I just throw all the information at them that they can get
Yeah.
on it. And
Well, my kids are go to the public school here, and I contribute. I pay taxes, so I volunteer. I do some extra, like more than they require of the parents and stuff, and try to get involved because it's the community I'm in, and I walk the walk. I think taxes are stupid, but I'm paying the taxes. I'm going to use the school,
Yeah.
but at the same time, just because the taxes are stupid doesn't mean I don't want to make my community better. I live here. I've been here 10 years. I like the place.
yeah,
You
one
know.
of the things that everybody complains about, like Ayn Rand, or whatever, however you pronounce it. They complained that she collects Social Security. It's like
She
like
paid into it.
Yeah, it's like
She
it's
paid
not,
way more into it than she ever got. I promise you that.
right. We all I get those
We all
statements
do.
in the mail, and it says this is what you get. It's like my family would be better off if I died
Well, that's what I'm saying.
than if I
yeah.
wait till I was
I
retired.
told, my mom just died, and what she was getting after what she made all those years was a disgrace.
Yes.
That money, if she could have put it into the same plan that she was allowed to take her other untaxed income and put it into, she could
Oh.
have had millions of dollars when she retired.
If I could put that money into a 401k, my
Yeah.
401k would look amazing.
Yeah, do you sing?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You don't want to sing a little ditty for me?
No.
Okay.
What we got?
Yeah, I don't know. I just wondering. I
No.
thought it was fair to ask. You look like you're about to break into song like
No,
the hills are alive with the sound.
I am a big John Prine
of
fan.
music.
You,
Yeah.
you can't grow up in Eastern Kentucky without being a John Prine fan, but I don't even have a good John Prine voice.
Yeah. So you're you have a 401k?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Do you? Yeah. That's not your only investment type. So.
no,
I don't want you to like break it down for.
I buy and sell stock.
so that everyone here knows, we do not give advice. Nothing that's being
Yeah,
said
you-
here is to be taken as advice. Seek out your own advice, motherfuckers. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
definitely don't take
I just
stock
had to
advice
put
from me
yeah,
because
disclaimer first.
I don't. I'm not very good at stock market, but I try.
I like to buy them high and sell them low. That's what
I
I always say.
yeah, I did buy Ford when it was low and sell it recently, but it was no, I'm good. But I think I got lucky. That was like the only time I got like a good investment was buying Ford. I bought and I turned around and bought Nokia stock because one of my coworkers said, "Oh yeah, they're going to have all the cheap 5G phones that everybody's going to want," and they do. But I don't see them flying off the shelves.
What about that 5G shit though? Do you listen to the tinfoil hat with Sam Tripoli?
No, but I have a friend that is
Fucking love that show.
I have a friend that will go nameless, Tim, who
Tim.
is a flat earther.
Yeah. Oh, he's Eddie. Does he like Eddie Bravo? Are they
And
buddies?
I don't think so. I think he's on his own, and he's down. He's like really hates 5G, and I told him, I said, "Well, you got to move out by me because they're not going to put 5G out."
Yeah.
Maybe I don't even. I don't even have a high speed internet.
Really? Yeah, I don't know. You don't know what to think about that shit. I don't know what to think about it. I actually have a friend. I was hanging out with two of my friends this weekend who are both real smart dudes. One's has a JD and the other one's a PhD in microbiology. And they both, to say the least, really see a need for government. And
They're statist.
they were good friends of mine. We haven't seen each
Oh,
other.
we all have statist friends.
Yeah, we do. They are status, but the one brother, and I'm not, and that's what the thing though. I want to make sure people understand. The biggest problem I have with any type of label is that I'm instantly grouped in with other people who share that label. So I don't try not to use labels. I don't know. Because, I don't want people to think I'm anti-vax, because I'm not necessarily anti-vax. I'm anti-buying everything you're told and just going to get it stuck in you because they said you should.
Right. I think that what's missing in that argument is that the amount of vaccines that a person took in 1964 compared to the amount of vaccines they're pushing on you now, and then you have like the vaccines to stop venereal diseases. It's like, well, that's the same excuse they use for circumcision.
Right, and I mean, but at the same time, and the circumcision argument I agree with. The HPV, on the other hand, does cause types of cervical cancer. When you're a parent, like I got 2 daughters, and it's like, where do I make that decision? Like, because I've seen some of the stuff the side effects from Gardasil, but at the same time, if I can avoid, I have friends who've had cervical cancer.
I think that it's one of them situations where you have to let the person that's accepting the vaccine to make an informed consent, and your responsibility is to say, this is your pros and cons. You can't do that to babies.
Yeah. And that's what, but my kids, it's like 14,
right.
14 years old, where you can say,
yes,
hey, look, here's the deal. Here's 80% of people get HPV. So the chances are you will get HPV. So
and the other 20% haven't been tested.
Right. Probably. Exactly.
Right.
But so, the one friend I'm going to have on is a microbiologist. So we're going to have him up to talk about the importance of herd immunity, exactly how it works. Because, like I was telling you outside, I don't want it to be a show where everybody feels like they have to listen to every episode. If you see something that's not something you want to hear, fucking skip through it. I don't care. But I like, I'm a pretty curious guy. I like to hear everything. So, that's why we're here talking about.
I grew up in Eastern Kentucky. I did not need to have vaccinations to go to school.
Yeah.
As far as I can remember, unless they did it to me when I was a kid, I never had vaccinations.
Yeah.
And I had chickenpox when I was a kid, and measles, and
whatever.
Shit, just like every other kid did.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to get shingles. I'm probably going to complain about it. But, I actually, heard some people, complaining about the anti-vaxxers, and they're talking about, they see the memes all the time, but they're going to die early. I'm like, well, I'm 54.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, well, you're not dead yet. I'm like, well, I die now. There's people who died from cancers younger than me.
Well, it's the same, the anti-vaxxer shit that they want to call, they want to call people conspiracy theorists, to disparage you because, and it's the same deal. Your group, if you share an opinion with, you don't want to say you're a flat earther because automatically you're crazy, right, even if you are. And I'm not. I think they are fucking crazy. Okay.
I don't know that my friend Tim.
Sorry.
I don't know.
And I'm sorry, Tim. And I'll tell Eddie Bravo.
I don't know
that's crazy.
I don't know that Tim's a flat earther. Tim's opinion, and I really cherish his opinion, is that you cannot believe everything you're told. And he's like, I have not. He personally has not seen the globe from outer space.
So he's not a flat earther. He's a skeptical earther.
He's a skeptic.
Yeah.
And
he's a collapse of Earth.
Now I think for the most part that he just likes to be a contrarian and upset everybody.
That's how I am.
I think he has a lot of friends that get really upset, and I'm like, I don't care. You're a flat earther. I'm good. And it doesn't matter if the Earth is flat or is round. It doesn't change my reality.
Well, and it doesn't matter if same deal. It doesn't matter if the Earth is 6,000 years old or if it's 4.5 billion years old.
Exactly.
Does it?
Didn't change my reality.
Nope.
It's not going to change the way I get in a car and drive or get in an airplane and fly.
And that's what bothers me. I make fun of religion a lot, and I don't want people to think that I'm picking on their religion because I make fun of all of them. I make fun of all the political ideologies. I like everybody.
You don't think Mary Magdalene didn't have a good sense of humor?
Oh, I'm sure she did.
She's trucking around there with Jesus.
Yeah.
You'd have to. He did. He was drawing memes in the sand.
Yeah, for sure. That's what kills me. You know what pisses me off? We were talking about the creditors and capitalism and shit earlier. Probably not on the show. Maybe outside. I don't know. But have you noticed that like people always bring up all these biblical quotes, but how many times do you hear people bring up the Jubilee? And, forgiving of debt and just letting shit go.
Right.
You never hear anybody bring that one up, do you?
No.
Because the whole system would collapse.
Yeah, but we also...
But it wouldn't, right? Because how many people do you know who have debts that they've never paid that are 20 years old? Where they borrowed money or got a credit card from some store and they never paid it back or whatever it is.
Referring back to the conversation with the fifth column, a recent episode of The Fifth Column when Michael Moynihan got arrested. He got stopped in like a checkpoint. Turns out he had a ticket or something he hadn't paid 25 years ago. Wound up in the Brooklyn jail.
Nice.
25-year-old. It's like you would think the state would forgive you for a 25-year-old parking ticket, you know.
But they didn't.
No, they don't.
They have no forgiveness.
Yeah, I got pulled over the other day. I was like, oh my god, you know, because I hadn't been pulled over forever.
Yeah.
And it was a speed trap. They'd recently changed a back road from 55 to 45.
Oh yeah.
I'm trucking along, cops coming at me. I'm like, I don't know, how did that guy radar me?
Yeah.
And he gave me a warning. And I was like, oh, thank you, sir. And I'm like, oh my god, I gotta go home and brush my teeth.
That's
brush
where
my
it gives
teeth.
me a problem is my gas cap is a fucking anarchy symbol that's made out of guns. So they walk up on my shit and they're like, "Oh, okay."
Well, I was going to the Spartan race, and I was wearing my running shorts and tennis shoes and got all my running gear on. I'm thinking, I don't want to go to jail in running shorts.
I saw the picture on.
Yeah, I was trying to sneak it. I didn't want him to think I was filming him, and then I was hoping for a warning, and you know that's what I got.
You got lucky. Well, that's good. Well, that's the whole thing. It's the same deal. I fucking hate it, but I just I had to go deal with getting all this permit shit. You think it doesn't behoove me to go be pissed off at everybody down there? They have a job to do. They don't give a fuck.
Right.
And if I'm a dick to them, they'll make it harder on me.
Right.
Why would I make some office girl who has nothing to do with any of it mad at me?
Yeah, she's got lucky to get a government job.
Exactly.
She had an uncle or something worked there. One of the toughest things for me to do as a parent was explain to my kids when they learned to drive that how they had to talk to cops. It's like, I don't care if you were doing nothing. You were driving along, listen to mind your own business, listen to the radio, and you get pulled over for nothing. Yeah. You have to keep your hands up here and say, yes, sir, no, sir, thank you, sir. And it's like, it was one of the hardest things I had to do. It was like, every day, and it doesn't help that all day long we have this, we're a free country, we're freedom. The amount of propaganda we get from, they practically wave Thomas Jefferson and George Washington down our throats all day long. And then you're like, I'm sorry, sir. Was I going 1 mile per hour or the speed limit? Fuck that.
Yeah. Well, it's all. So you're anti-speed limits?
Oh,
or are you? You're not anti-speed limits, or you are?
I'm anti-speed limits.
So, how would you feel if a town that had collectively built the road to pass through, with contracts from the businesses there, the people had formed some type of a corporation to build the road? How would you feel if they set a speed limit because they had kids in their town? Would you be okay with that?
I would feel, and it's probably just my anti-authoritarian beliefs, I would feel better about a group of citizens saying this is what's good for our community compared to the state.
So that's fine, but you'd feel better if you'd be okay with it if we were a decentralized type of a shit where you knew that you were driving on somebody else's road.
It's the story behind it. Like the other day I get pulled over. I'm going 55 and a 45. It's an area where there was no reason.
Nobody there.
There was no reason. It was a country back road that there wasn't no reason you couldn't go. And it's really going to suck on a motorcycle. Yeah. But it's like, why do you get this? This was done for a revenue service.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. Is it doesn't allow for. It doesn't really allow for any nuance of situation at all either.
Yeah. What was in Montana in the old days, the speed limit was reasonable and proper.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
so. There's nobody out there. You're going 100. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, and I think that's it. If a community said it's reasonable that you should drive this speed through our community because we have kids, I can accept that because you're dealing with reason, and that's it. And you're dealing with unreasonable. When you're dealing with the state, you're not dealing with something you can reason with.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I got a ticket on a country road once. There was nothing there. It's farm, like literally the stretch road I got pulled on was chicken barns. There might be 4 people a day that drive in and out of those chicken barns.
It's just like a bad parent that says, "Don't do this because I told you so." Yeah, and that's what dealing with the state.
But is. I do that to my kids to teach them a lesson, and I explain that to them. I'm like, sometimes I'm gonna ask you to do shit that you don't think is fucking stupid, and like it's like the dishes. There really isn't a better reason than I told you so. I mean, I'm paying for you to live, but honestly, nobody's gonna care whether I'm paying for you to live or not. They're gonna expect me to.
Yeah, I'm like,
You know?
well, you're eventually going to have to run out of
Yeah.
dishes. If you want something
Yeah.
clean to eat on,
Well, ours is because we fucking told you so. Because you don't want to hear me yell tomorrow. Though.
But
They understand that though.
It's easy enough to reason with them, though. It's like, listen, if you don't wash the dishes, and I
Yeah.
don't wash the dishes,
then it's gonna be a big mess.
it's going to be a
That
big
ain't
mess.
my day
And
tomorrow-
you
tomorrow
can
business.
choose as a 14-year-old to go get a job in an apartment and have your own
Yeah.
dirty dishes, or you can do these and shut your mouth.
Yeah.
That's a reason they can accept.
Yeah, but that's the same as I told you so. Really.
But
when you come down
the
to
government
it.
doesn't give you that option.
No,
They're
it
like,
doesn't.
if you don't pay this, we're going to throw you in jail.
Yeah, we're gonna throw you in a rape cage.
And then you can choose not to pay this ticket and ignore it. And 10 years from now, you're going to be in some state 200 miles away from home, and you're going to get pulled over for something stupid.
And you're gonna get arrested.
And you're going to get arrested, you're going to wind up in a jail, and you have to deal with some podunk lawyer 200 miles away from home, 1,000 miles away from home.
Yeah. Bunch of bullshit.
Right. And that the state, that everybody knows that threat of violence from the state is not reasonable.
Yeah. Well, that brings us back. So let's get back to where we started with the whiskey.
The Whiskey Rebellion.
So let's set the stage, okay? Let me set the stage.
As we're drinking cognac.
If you'd allow me, I got whiskey up in there. I got some bourbon. The fucked up part is it's bourbon and it's not even made in Kentucky. It's made in Alabama.
It's not bourbon.
But it says bourbon on the. How are they allowed to do that?
Because the Kentucky politicians.
Okay.
I won't mention no names, Thomas Massey, but
We're not gonna talk about that, Mr. fucking Thomas Massey. Whatever. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna set the stage. So set the stage. Fucking 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and he landed on land that had already been discovered. He didn't discover anything. And fast forward, a bunch of the brown people that lived here originally died from plagues and shit. Blah 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 blah.
bed bugs.
Bed bugs, other stuff. And then the group of people who lived on the coast decided that the people across the ocean who were demanding taxes from them could fuck right the fuck off. So then we fought a whole fucking war and got a lot of other countries involved.
Wait a minute. We got to include Crispus Attucus, who never gets included in that whole.
Oh yeah, here you go. Include.
Crispus Attucus, who started he was the first three men that got killed at the Boston Massacre, which is, the shot heard around the world, which was considered
That's where they had
where the British soldiers killed the rioters at the Boston Harbor.
And then John Adams was the lawyer for the
British.
lawyers. Or for the British, yeah, sorry.
Samuel Adams used Crispus Attucus' death as a martyrdom hero to get the 3% of the settlers to go to war with the English.
Yeah.
There was actually a famous quote by George Washington about Crispus Attucus, which I think is incredible. It's
Is
racist.
somebody firing up a fucking turbocharged pickup out there? It is.
I don't know.
It's a turbocharged diesel. Sorry, folks.
Probably one of them Chinese diesels, though.
It's a Dodge.
There is a
it's
company here in
Cummins-
Indianapolis
It's a
that-
Cummins diesel.
There's a company in Indianapolis that rebuilds factory diesels, bores them out, makes them better, and puts a bigger turbine in them.
Really?
Anyway,
Oh man, we're just distracting again. We were trying to give props to Crispus. It's Crispus Attucks.
Crispus Attucks, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
George Washington has a quote. It's racist, but you got to consider the time. He says, "While the farmers toiled in their fields, a Negro died for your freedom."
Yeah.
And he used that as probably white guilt
Yeah.
at the time to get the people to revolt.
Yeah, but at that time, did they look at him as was he a citizen at the time?
No,
of the North, or was he property of a citizen?
Even there's many controversies about
Because at that
Christmas,
time you couldn't
because
be free and black even in the North, correct?
No, I think you could.
You could?
Yes.
Okay.
But they don't know enough about him to accurately say.
But
he might have been they called him an escaped mulatto, or half breed. Some people say, but they think that he might have worked on whaling ships.
Yeah.
But he probably made ropes on the harbor. That was probably his job.
Yeah. That was instrumental in getting the revolution started. Though.
Yes.
That, along with the Boston Tea Party and
Right.
several other heinous acts where they tried to raise tax. It was a stamp.
The Stamp Act.
The Stamp Act was the last one, right? Or
no,
before the revolution, or
No,
Or they tried to do that during the revolution.
They
wasn't
said
it?
that the Boston Massacre was the people that died there was the first casualties of the American Revolution.
Okay.
That's the way it's described.
So there you go, folks. That is what led to the war that the United States then fucking fought for. How many years was that?
Oh my God! Well,
As long as Afghanistan,
they,
almost.
people don't,
Jesus
it's
fucking
another
Christ.
thing that people don't know about because the American history in school is not very
It's
good.
garbage, along with our finance.
You
And,
know, they call it July 4, 1776 the birthday of America, but it wasn't. It wasn't. The Constitution wasn't signed until like 1791.
yeah.
Bill of Rights in 1793.
But wasn't that the Articles of Confederation signed on the 3rd of July that year?
It's
Or-
second.
The 2nd of July,
Second.
okay.
The 4th was just a
And let's
better-
be honest, I mean,
Fourth sounded better.
yeah, but let's be honest, though, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights were just a step back from the Articles of Confederation.
Yeah,
as
the
far
articles.
as
They said the Article of Confederation didn't go far enough. That was the terminology.
Yeah, but then when it came out, then the documents that came afterwards didn't go as far as the Articles of Confederation did. And then thank God they correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Benjamin. I don't remember who it was. Somebody thought we didn't even need the Bill of Rights, and they were like, "No, you better put the Bill of Rights in there." I don't remember who it was. I wanted to say Benjamin Franklin, one of them, but they thought that the
I don't
language that was in the Constitution itself made it understood that the people got any rights that weren't expressly given to the federal government within the document.
I don't know. I can't imagine Ben Franklin saying that. The
And it's probably fucking Mr. fucking federal government himself, Mr. Hamilton.
Yeah,
said it.
that does not surprise me.
Yeah.
But Ben Franklin was what I remember the most about the wording in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights was that Thomas Jefferson was writing. We hold these truths to be sacred and undeniable, is how Thomas Jefferson had worded it. And Ben Franklin thought that was too religious.
Yeah.
And
Did he think that it would make the people feel that slaves were human?
well, the
Do
way
you
I
think that's part of the reason they use some of the
sacred
wording?
well, the way I read it or heard the story now, this is turned 34 years later, was that he thought it was too religion. It forced people to
Submit to a god. Or
submit to a god, and he asked Thomas Jefferson to use the word self-evident, which made it was self-aware,
Oh, yeah.
which I thought was a very good change.
Well, that's the same as that's exactly where objectivism comes from.
But
right
I
there,
also
is the
think that
self-evident.
sacred and undeniable is a really powerful statement also. So
Well, I mean, that's the point. Is when I feel like sacred and undeniable makes it feel like you can't take it from someone else, whereas when self-evident makes it feel like if you can convince yourself that that person isn't capable of self-reflection or self-understanding, then fuck them, right?
Right.
Whereas it muddied the water a little bit,
right.
right? So how
But
many other instances are there where the water got muddied and now we're paying the price?
I like the change.
Yeah.
In fact, I have the tattoo
Yeah.
somewhere here. Anyway, but that's I tend to believe Ben Franklin was our first ANCAPs.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with that. I think but I think that most of the founding fathers were libertarian. But then George Washington with the Whiskey Rebellion shows exactly what happens when you put a little bit of power in the hands of some fucking guy who's otherwise benevolent.
Right, and
Because he didn't want it originally.
No, he was.
But he abused
was
it the minute he could.
Extremely skeptical. I think he tried because he was asked to go, let's do something about these rebels out there, and these rebels were ex-soldiers who had fought alongside him for a good cause, and were just outliving the libertarian dream, or ANCAP's dream. They were the anarcho-capitalists that were using their form of Bitcoin, which was whiskey,
Yeah.
because it was easier to transport whiskey down the mountain than it was to transport corn, which would
Yeah.
be turned into something useless like corn syrup.
Yeah, and then they just used all their extra stuff they couldn't bundle or, get into bushels and get to market and shit. They could turn into whiskey.
But this goes back
right.
into the history of bourbon. The eastern Kentucky was not a full state like it is now. It was just the eastern seaboard, and it was the eastern seaboard of Kentucky was called Bourbon County.
So it's just that tiny little part
It-
of the state at the time.
Yeah, it was like the northeastern and the whole eastern part of Kentucky existed, but it wasn't defined like it is a state now.
I gotcha.
And it was called Bourbon County, and it was mountain. You know, the eastern Kentucky's the edge of the Appalachian. It's mountainy, it's valleys. There's you could grow corn and tobacco on the hillside. But these mountain, you can to this day you can live up there. You could live up there and nobody ever see you. You could live off the grid, and the whiskey got sold out of the port of Maysville, and any whiskey that got sold out of the port of Maysville had to have come from Bourbon County, because that's the only county there was.
Yeah.
So any whiskey that got sold out of the port of Maysville was called bourbon. So as a bourbon purist, if it's not sold out of Maysville, it's
not bourbon.
It's not bourbon.
Right. That's what I was saying. Like,
And there's only one only one bourbon made, and that is it's a company called Old Pogue.
Old Pogue?
Old Pogue. Pogue, just like the band.
Keep going.
They
Got this bottle of this fake shit.
they sell. They're one of the last bourbon makers in Maysville. But anyway, when they sent the soldiers to Western Pennsylvania and to Maysville to collect
Is
taxes.
that who it's named after?
What is it?
Is that who that shit's named after? The
Clyde.
guy who Maysville's named after? Oh,
Clyde Mays.
He's got to put his glasses back on.
Yeah. Put my readers on here. Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Um,
So this fucking fake ass company in Alabama named their company after the guy that the county that bourbon's made in named after. And then they're like, yeah, it's bourbon, motherfuckers.
There is still a port of Maysville, and
Me and my friend drank all that in one night. We got fucking hammered.
dude, I hate to think about the next day.
I had to go to work. It was not good.
The port of Maysville still exists, and I have a moto vlog on YouTube, and I plan on going down there and doing a moto vlog there.
Yeah.
I just haven't had a chance. But anyway, when they sent George Washington first sent tax collectors out and soldiers out, it was kind of like a lackadaisical. Like, listen, guys, we appreciate it if you would
If you
help
go
us
ahead
pay
and
back
pay
the
this
French.
tax,
We'd appreciate it if you pay this tax because we were lousy negotiators with the French. For the French, we got to pay the French back. I was like, fuck the French. They're getting the ability to buy goods from us. That's enough.
They feel about France like I do about China right now.
Yeah, it's like,
fuck China.
like, listen, we'll close down all the WalMarts and see how you like
Yeah,
that.
check it.
They didn't have Trump to negotiate for them, so
Yeah.
it was not huge.
God damn it, that's funny. I like it.
Because he didn't have a proof that a time machine will never exist.
We're gonna be pissing off left and right snowflakes
Oh,
today.
no. It's-
All the snowflakes will be melting on our show. It's okay. I don't think you're snowflakes. I just want to see all your boobs. Go ahead.
But anyway, the soldiers that went to Western Pennsylvania, of course, they got tarred and feathered, the tax collectors. But the ones that went to Kentucky never came back.
Yeah.
And we don't know if they went native, or they
Went native.
or if they never lived.
They're like, well, I don't want to die, so I'm
Right.
one of these guys now.
And Kentucky was known for the famous mountain men. Daniel Boone. Daniel Boone. We all think of the TV show from the '60s.
Yeah.
Clean cut guy. But he was. That no mountain man that took settlers across the Maysville Road was a clean cut.
Yeah.
And you had guys like Simon Kenton, who at the time was a large guy like George Washington, and he had been fighting the Indians for years, and the Indians finally they tried to kill him many times. They couldn't be killed, and they finally made him an official tribe member.
Yeah.
But there's actually a school. The school in Maysville, Kentucky, is the Simon Kenton High School. So Kentucky was known for the crazy mountain men. So I'm sure the soldiers got you're one of us or you're not.
Yeah.
So to me, if you're an American, you drink bourbon because that's the Americans when you talk about the wild Americans, free Americans, you think of Bourbon County, Kentucky.
The ones who fucking actually fucked and fought off the tax collectors.
Right. And I mean,
Or tarred and feathered them.
that's what we like to talk
Or
about.
whatever.
We fought the British over taxes,
Yeah.
over the empire.
Yeah.
We did the Star
Well,
Wars.
then it seems like within pretty quickly it just turned into we just want to run our own empire over here.
Right, and
And it didn't take long, right?
no. I mean, we had a good run, 1776, 1792.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great republic while you had it.
Right.
Right.
Now, not to say I love that because, and I look at the founding fathers like this. Even if they did become an empire, they knew that if they didn't revolt, that they wouldn't be just England because
Yeah.
the permaculture of America was so valuable that every country on the planet, probably in the universe, was like, listen, we need some of that good soil.
Yeah, when you get over there.
Yeah, we need to make this ours. And
Yeah.
so, at the very least, no matter how fucked up our current government is or how much you hate it, we do have this system that existed, thanks to them founding fathers that said,
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's, I get.
"Hey, wait a minute, I'm getting ready to get out a flag here and drive a Dodge Challenger."
I don't want a Dodge Challenger. Not right this second, anyways.
You got to admit that commercial's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. I love America. Fuck Hitler. Fuck him. Boop, what a dish. All right, now that we've established that we're all like Christian, conservative, patriotic, flag waving motherfuckers over here.
Hey, I visited Ben Franklin site where his house is like not on the main street because he didn't want to pay taxes. So,
Yeah, that's funny. Bastard. So,
womanizer,
yeah, he's kind
sinner,
of a little bit of a hero of mine, to be honest. I'll be telling you the truth.
polygamist.
He's polygamist, polygamy. So what
Hey,
the
what do you
fuck?
think his great grandchildren? You know they're running around out here somewhere.
Yeah, they probably got tons of great. He's probably like, he's almost like,
The real father of our country.
he's like, what's his name? Genghis Khan. He found it. He like seeded a third of all people on that side of the world.
Him and Robert Plant, Jimmy Page.
No shit. We got 4 people who the whole world's descended from.
Though Robert Plant was dating that 15-year-old girl from Texas. She's probably like, what, she's 50 now?
Jesus Christ. Well, how weird is it that stuff nowadays, like that, like even 10 years ago, it was totally okay to drop an N-bomb if you're a comedian, and now it's like,
Oh, I know.
holy shit, dude, you're done. We don't want you back here anymore.
Yeah,
You can't come out.
you watch the old Dave
Yeah.
Chappelle episode, just like, not even he could get away with being Dave
Yeah, I
Chappelle.
don't know if you could. It's like Louis C.K. I mean, what did he do? Jerk off in front of some girls who gave him permission?
Okay, yeah,
to?
ask him
I mean,
to.
Jesus Christ! If I got in trouble for every time I did that, I'd be unemployed.
Well, I'm a virgin, so I don't know.
Jesus. Oh well. How'd you have kids? That's weird.
Uh,
You're
no, but
miracle babies.
it's funny that R. Kelly gets in trouble.
So you realize that if you're a virgin, those kids can't be yours. So you've been raising somebody else's kids.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it.
Your wife convinced you kissing her got her pregnant, didn't she? Yeah,
It was toilet seat.
that'll happen. Oh shit, even worse.
You got to edit that out. She's probably going to listen to this.
Oh no, she won't.
Yes, she will.
If you did, I'm sorry.
She's probably pretty proud of me
I
right now.
coaxed him into it. It was his fault. Don't be proud of this. This show is garbage.
It was the cognac.
Yes.
Which, by the way, since we're speaking of cognac, got to say hi to my Canadian libertarian friend Roger, who owns a tattoo parlor in Canada, Atomic Tattoos. Who
Atomic Tattoo.
he sends all the great memes that I forward to everybody else.
Well done, Roger. We appreciate your hard work out there.
That's right.
You got to keep it real in the time of.
And Canadian
loss.
libertarians are much more
Yeah.
hardcore than American libertarians.
Well, they got to be, man. It's fucking nuts out
the,
there.
the crazy shit they have to deal
Yeah.
with compared to Americans.
So, are you ready? We've been talking for like an hour and 45 minutes. Are you ready for me to ask you about a bunch of your favorite shit? Because
Yeah, go
it
ahead.
wouldn't be everyone's favorite show if I didn't.
Yeah, go ahead and
So-
ask me about my favorite
All right,
stuff.
so we already got this one, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What's your favorite bourbon?
Oh, where this currently?
Yes.
I'm drinking Old Forester, which is bottom shelf.
Old Forester, bottom shelf.
It is.
So
It is.
you like it?
I do like it.
a long time?
I like it, and it's considered the first bottled bourbon in America.
Yeah.
Because
That's cool. What's your favorite kind of shoe?
I
It
still
doesn't have to be. What's your favorite kind of shoe to wear? Like, if you could wear it all the time, what's your favorite kind of shoe?
I wear Nikes because Nike spends a lot of money with runners.
What kind? So running shoes.
Running
That's
shoes.
what I'm.
I wear.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, I'm a runner,
So
so
you see me, dude. You see I'm sport.
I mean-
shell toes, bro. I wear basketball shoes because I just walk. I don't run. I do hike though. I wear boots for hiking. So.
I have a pair of Carolinas
Yeah.
work boots that I ride my motorcycle in. that have been good boots.
We're gonna before I go any further, I got more questions. We're gonna do this again. We didn't even touch the surface. You're a cool dude, and I'm glad to have you. I'm so happy you came. It worked out great. What's your favorite kind of food?
Oh, I'm a cheeseburger guy.
You're a cheeseburger
Yeah,
guy? Do you make them yourself?
I like Five Guys cheeseburgers.
So are you a big griller? No.
No, I'm not, and
That's one of my
It's mostly
exceptions.
because
I'm
me,
kinda heartbroken now
my
because-
families are we're such a we're like an A type family. We're like always got something going on in our like we don't have time. Like throw some burger on, like it's easier to go through a drive through.
Yeah,
Well,
that's how
I'm a drive through
Yeah.
more than a sit down kind of guy.
Yeah, we're the same winter time. My oldest daughter does swimming, and she's in orchestra, and she's like the fifth chair in the main orchestra at this giant school. So it's nonstop shit. But we still find a way to do. Like we just work it out because it's cheaper, and that's the biggest reason is because of
Yeah, and
we're really budget conscious.
the good thing is we live near we live in a small town, and the local IGA is like not cheap to shop
No,
at.
they're not cheap.
But they buy meat locally, and the meat is so much better than you can buy at the big box stores.
Yeah, that's cool. So, what's your favorite kind of ice cream?
Ooh,
Ooh.
yeah, I like chocolate chip cookie dough, but I like it in vanilla. I don't like it in chocolate.
There you go. What's your favorite beer?
Ooh, that's an easy one. Hewdy 14K,
That's
Cincinnati beer.
really
I'd say Wiedemann, but they're really slow getting going again.
okay. So, what's your favorite kind of cheese?
Oh, yeah, this is a good one. I like spicy cheese, and the local Amish store has horseradish cheese.
Oh yeah,
Oh, it's really good. And and I was actually wrote down on the notes the things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the Amish being the American volunteerists.
Yes, they are.
I know that they spend money. They're capitalists. They have every one of them have business, but they very much are a very successful volunteerist society. No matter if you like the way they treat their women, their kids, their animals, whatever, they are a volunteer
No, they
society.
take care of each other. They save a lot of money because they back it up. If somebody's house burns down, the community builds it. So they don't have to have insurance.
They give loans out to each other.
Yeah, they take care of each other.
They are into. It's not that they give charity.
Yeah.
Like you have to earn it back. Like a son cannot marry. Like a father of a daughter will not allow his daughter to marry a guy that don't have a house.
Yeah,
So they'll get together and build a guy a house so he can get married.
yeah.
But he'll have to pay that back.
Yeah. No, it's pretty cool. It's cool the way they do.
Yeah, they have a set of
And that's
structure,
and that's the thing. I think that
self-contained.
a lot of people who are anarchists are under confusion about how it's going to work, and it's not going to be. It's going to be very decentralized.
There's a huge amount
very decentralized.
I've lived in there's 3 Amish churches very close to where I live. I've dealt with them for 26 years. There's a lot of mythology goes along with them, but
yeah, that's true.
they're not like overly religious like you would imagine. Like you have a Christian neighbors, but you're going to hear about it a lot more than you will if you ever live in here. I've never had an Amish guy talk to me about religion ever.
No, you won't.
No,
They
they're
got
asking me
more-
about the weather.
Yeah, they did talk to you about bullshit. They ain't
Yeah.
gonna worry about all that shit. What's your favorite lie ever told?
Ooh,
Yeah.
my favorite?
Yeah.
The one I fell for, like the moonwalk.
Either one, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, no.
So you think the moon landing's fake? Is the moon landing fake? Yes or no?
I got you.
On
I'm
the
telling
spot.
you go to that YouTube, go to YouTube and watch that moonwalk, and you're like, holy shit!
check
I
it
can't
out.
believe I fought that.
Just
Fell
tell
for
me,
that.
Okay, so he does not believe in the moonwalk.
Yeah, the science don't support it.
So what's your favorite?
Elvis being clean. Yeah, like we were so disappointed to find out Elvis was a big dope head,
I never believed that.
and that Elvis all that time that I was growing up. Grew up in the Elvis generation, and Elvis was still alive when I was a kid. And so Elvis meeting with Nixon, and to find out later that he was just a big pothead, a big pill popper.
Yeah.
I was disappointed.
Yeah, that does suck. What's your favorite? Dan, we didn't even talk about music. That's okay. We'll do another.
I know we
episode.
were going
What's
to talk about
your
Jimmy,
favorite-
Robert Plant, and R. Kelly.
Yeah. So what's your favorite? Who's your favorite musician?
Ooh, Jeff Beck.
Who's your favorite guitar player?
Oh, Jeff Beck was my favorite guitar player. Him and Jimi Hendrix.
Okay, for favorite guitar player / musician.
It'd be Jimi Hendrix. I'm a big Hendrix fan.
Yeah. Okay. What's your favorite band?
X
Yeah.
out of
Okay.
California. Out of California.
Yeah.
Exene Cervenka is like probably the greatest American songwriter we've had. it's up there with her and Steve Earle being the better. Steve Earle's
Really?
such a better songwriter than Bob Dylan. Or
We could have a whole episode on just your musical taste. I don't like Bob Dylan either, though, so just never mind.
yeah, I thought he was overrated.
No,
he was
way
just a
overrated.
New York hippie.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah,
Um,
he was
so what's
marketing.
yeah, so what's your favorite music genre?
I grew up in Eastern Kentucky, so it has to be like singer songwriter / bluegrass.
Okay, what's your favorite movie genre?
Oh, I hate to say it. I love foreign film subtitles that have vague endings.
Oh man,
I'll like watch it like.
sounds kind of gay.
No,
No, I'm just
sorry.
messing with you.
I discovered it late in
Hey,
life.
man, I like musicals. I don't care.
I discovered it late in life that there was one foreign film about the Nazis, and there was a train station that was going to stop the Nazis. I don't even remember what it was about. It was such a vague plot,
Yeah.
black and white, but it was made in the late 70s or early 80s. And
I don't know.
and it had subtitles, and I was like, I can't believe I'm watching this movie. And every time it'll be on like IFC channel, I'll like watch that movie again. I was like,
Yeah.
it's awful.
So, what's your favorite sport? I mean, you know you don't like them, but you got to pick one.
Oh,
Gun to your head.
horse racing.
Horse racing. That's fair enough. I like that. What's your favorite kind of vehicle?
Oh, Mad Max vehicles. There's
Yeah.
no doubt. I mean,
Yeah. You like all-wheel drive, like
Oh, yeah.
big tires, big horsepower,
yeah.
onboard weapons and shit.
Oh yeah, 50 cal on
That's what's
tied
up.
to it.
I like
Roll
I
cage.
like it a
The I don't know if you watched the Roadkill on Motor Trend's Hot Rod Magazine's Roadkill show. They built a
seen
vet.
it.
They took the body off of a vet and put a roll cage on it. It's like that's like my dream vehicle.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah,
What's your favorite thing to stick a finger in?
on my nose.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing to have for breakfast?
I work night shift, so beer and eggs.
Perfect. I like it a lot. Do you like coffee?
Oh, I love coffee.
Yeah. What's your favorite kind of coffee?
Yeah, I'm a Maxwell House guy.
Yeah, me too. That's fine.
I would love to be a Folgers guy because my grandmother drank Folgers, and my grandmother was a huge influence in my life.
Yeah, I was a Folgers guy because it was cheaper than Maxwell House.
But I can't-
But the minute
I can't do it.
Yeah,
But-
I was converted.
There is a coffee that's made in Kentucky called John Conti.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Is it?
Yeah,
I like it.
like it's hard to find though.
Yeah. So, man, I think that's good enough for now. I really appreciate you coming. It was
This was a good time.
Yeah, it was a great time. I hope that we can do it again sometime.
All right,
Maybe we can.
We'll
all,
take,
like,
let's take some calls from callers real quick.
can we get a caller?
I don't know. Can
I
we
don't know, maybe.
put on Twitter that we're taking calls?
Yeah, like I don't think we have enough time. But
Okay.
we'll see. We'll try. We'll try one real fast.
Taking calls.
I'll give
I'm
somebody
sure
45 seconds.
Alexa's like, hey, I'll call.
I'm not letting any of these fucks call my house. Never mind. We will work on that for later.
Rebecca will call from.
We'll do like a chat room.
We'll get
live
Skip
chat or
to call
something
in.
next
And
time.
Skip be
Yeah,
like
there you
the
go.
Godfather calling
No,
in.
that'd be good. I like it. So yeah, John, thanks again for coming. If you want to find John, find him. He's at based_collapsitarian, or is it?
It's just something collapsitarian. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I don't know.
It's
I'll
spelled wrong because every time that there be some status of right man, hey, you spelled your name wrong. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
That's fine. I'll
Just
link
tag me.
to it in the fucking show description. If you got something you want to hear us talk about, or you want to be a guest, or you know somebody who wants to be a guest, please email me, everyone's favorite show at gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter, Josh_Rhines. Thanks a lot, motherfuckers, and be cool.
That's right.
And you hear the kids playing out back? They're having a good time.
That's what kids supposed to do.
Yeah, be more like that.
Yeah.
Be cool.
stray, never listen, though all they know is that it feels good. Spread the seed, they don't know pretty girl, no, she made her